Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 179th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Korach. Parshas Korach is about the story of Korach. Comes out against Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen. Jealousy takes 250 great men, and they get destroyed. The earth opens up and eats them alive. All right, covers them up, all their property, etc. So a lot of the parsha definitely has to do with that. And the Torah tells me in chapter 17, verse 23, Torah tells me that show another great proof of Aaron's greatness. It says, the next day Moshe came out at the tent of testimony. Behold, the staff of Aaron of the house of Levi had blossomed, brought forth a blossom, sprouted a bud, and almonds ripened. Talk about Aaron's staff, right? Aaron's staff over here that have blossomed, etc. So it's an interesting thing that there's a question over here like this, that after the whole story with Korach, that the earth opened up and swallowed them all up. So what do we need? Why do we need another miracle here? Right? The fact that the staff, right, through the staff itself, what did the staff do? It brought out flowers, almonds. Wasn't it already clear? God runs the world. God's in charge. That Aaron himself is a holy person. What do I need another miracle for? So asked Moed Rebbe, Arav Agon or Moshe Shlita should be well. He asked this in his work on Chumash, Tam V'das, his commentary on Chumash. And he says, there was no question, Jewish people not coming to question God forbid Aaron HaKohen. Right? They know how great Aaron is. They know what he's done, so to speak. They're afraid of him. Right? They're afraid of the holiness that he is, that he represents. But everyone else seemingly is far away. Right? He and Moshe Rabbeinu on a different level. So maybe even though they have great fear of him, they're in great awe. But he's far away. Right? He's in a different world. He's on a much higher level. Nonetheless, what do they look for? Another leader. Another leader, let's say, is more with it. Who can speak? He can speak to the people. You can have a connection. Aaron and Moshe, different level. Totally different level. So what's the point of the miracle here? If they already know he's holy, and they don't have any question, so I don't need a miracle. I already know how great he is. I already know how great Moshe Rabbeinu is. Saw the miracle. The earth opened up, destroyed them. So what do I need another miracle for? So he says, God proves in this miracle that even though he takes a staff and he uses simple wood over here, if Aaron himself is very holy and it's called upon his name, then of course the flowers are going to sprout. Right? Of course they're going to give off fruits. Goes without saying. In his true connection to spirituality, nobody questions. Right? Absolutely nobody questions over here. Because after all, anyone who attaches himself to somebody holy is going to be holy themselves. Right? If they really work at it. But what's the point here? The point he makes is, we're talking about simple wood. Right? And flowers come out of it. Because it represents every Jew. That every Jew, even one who doesn't know very much, he knows very little, he's able to accept and receive God's heavenly influence, the holiness. If he's the vessel to receive it, not like he has to be a true righteous person. Because anybody can get that. You don't have to be Aaron a Cohen. Right? Certainly not. So this shows also someone who's a Rav, someone who's a Rebbe. He mixes with the people. People know more, people know less. Got to be well-rounded in that sense. Got to know how to deal with all kinds of people. So there are two things. One is what we just mentioned. The fact that someone's, let's say, a rabbi of a synagogue, he's got to know how to deal with all kinds of people. Even if people don't know very much. Try and teach them. Try and uplift them. You try and give them what they need. Obviously, someone who knows more, give them different. You give them more and what they need. The person cannot just associate and have a connection to people that, let's say, know a lot more. And they're more in tune. That might be better for you intellectually. But you lose the common person. Doesn't matter how brilliant you are. Doesn't matter how much Torah you know. Got to be able to speak to everybody. Right? To have some sort of connection to everybody. Because if not, you lose them. They'll certainly lose respect if you think you're not dealing with them. Or you have a connection. Right? That's one thing. But the other thing is really what I wanted to harp on here. And that is any person, any Jew who wants to have a connection to Torah, he can get that spiritual influence, right? There's a spiritual influence that comes with Torah if a person's a proper vessel. The more effort, the more he gets, the more it illuminates him. Says the Ramchal in Derech Hashem. Not only it illuminates him, it helps fix the world. That's at a high level. What about someone not on a high level? They're only learning, he may do, maybe learn a little bit of Mishnah, say some Tehillim, some Psalms, and that's it. He'll be relatively unlearned. So what's his portion in Torah? Doesn't everyone have an obligation to be the best we can in Torah? Learn as much as we can. Some people won't. Some people may not have the capacity. Maybe they're more limited. I'm not saying they're mentally challenged. Whatever, but they're limited. Don't they have a portion in Torah too? They also have a portion. And whatever they learn, they'll get married for. So it won't be like someone who learns most of the day, or a good part of the day. Because they learn much less. They're not on such a level. But here my Rebbe says, every Jew can get that holiness. Even if they don't know so much. Every Jew has a portion in Torah. But the question is how much we put in. Right? Some people mistakenly make the statement and say, well, you do the right thing. According to your religion, even though they're Jewish. You say the right prayers, you do the right thing, I'm doing this. As if to say, it doesn't really matter what I do. You're right, I'm probably not doing the right thing, but okay. That's who I am. That's what I do. You do the right thing and that's good enough. But it's not true. What I do or what anyone does is not for the sake of someone else. If a person died, both of you have an obligation, let's say. It was a mother, father, sister, brother, God forbid a spouse, someone you have an obligation to mourn. We'll make it easy. Let's say a mother or a father passed away. And a brother says to one brother, one's religious, one's not. The non-religious brother says, I know you do the right thing. I know you say all the prayers, whatever, and I'll do what I do. But obviously that's not enough. Even if they would say, have me in mind, how's that help? If you have an obligation, say the mourner's prayer. To lead prayers, and if you can, at least say the mourner's prayer. Right, for that soul that died. How can you pass the buck? How can you say, okay, you do it for the rest of us? Now, obviously they're joking to a certain extent. But even if they say, you do the right thing. You say the right things. As if to say, okay, whatever I do, I do. Right, that's called pass the buck. Because my Rebbe here says everybody has a portion in Torah. So if that's true, what does it matter what I do or anyone else does? For somebody else, doesn't help. I can't fulfill their obligation in Torah if they have their own obligation. I mean, certain things I can. If you have a doubt and a blessing, I eat the same thing, or I'm going to eat the same thing, I can have you in mind. The right person blows the shofar, has people in mind. That's all true. But we're talking about something where you have a specific obligation. You're not going to do it, and no one else can do it for you. So what do? So half joking, you say, okay, I know you do the real thing. And even though you do the real thing, it doesn't help them. Because even worse, they're admitting they're not going to do the right thing. Whether they know, they don't know, they're admitting they're not going to do the right thing. If they're not going to do the right thing, what does it matter what you do? What you do has no effect. Right? People will say, well, that's for the Orthodox, not for us. According to them, they're doing the right thing. We're all a bunch of schleppers. Right? Maybe. That's what they'll say. Right? They do believe. A little bit more they don't believe. But they'll say they're doing everything for us. It's not true. They're doing it because they have an obligation. They're doing it because that's what God wants. That's what He commands. We have to serve Him. We don't have a choice. Someone's going to come along and say, well, it's good enough you do it. Why is it good enough I do it? Or someone else does it? Why isn't it good enough you do it? Why don't you do it? I'm not going to do it. But just in case, have me in mind. Can't have someone in mind. In this case, you cannot fulfill someone's obligation. They have an obligation to say Kaddish. Say the mourner's prayer. That's their obligation. How can I fulfill that obligation? I can't. No possible way. The reason is very simple. We both have the same obligation. That's why I call it pass the buck. The thing you do it, have me in mind. In the case where you have your own obligation and I cannot fulfill it, that doesn't help. I mean, it's kind of a ludicrous thing to say, even though it's being said really in joke, or as a joke and jest. But the point is every Jew has a portion in Torah. That is something we can't forget. And that's an awesome thing. Anybody who wants to come and participate, obviously within the right parameters, anyone can come. Person can choose, they don't want, okay? That's their choice. But the fact God gives us a golden opportunity, He doesn't just say, well, it's only for the righteous. Right? Then these people have a good claim. I'm not righteous. I'm not even close. Got a lot to work on. So maybe I don't do anything. I don't do any mitzvahs. Or very few. Maybe when I'm feeling inspired. But you, who are more righteous, you always feel inspired. Okay, so you'll do it all the time. Now, that's not true either. We don't always feel inspired. We should. We don't always feel inspired. Life can beat us down. If we internalize the message properly, okay. Even if life beats us down, we know how to deal with it. So there's a golden opportunity. Even if someone doesn't have as much time, even if they have limited understanding, God says, I give you an opportunity to have a connection to me. And having a connection to me is learn. Learn my books. Learn what it says. Even if you only have a limited amount of time. And whatever you put in, you get something back for it. But at the end of the day, my Rebbe says, you want to have that connection, you can have the connection. God opens the door. He doesn't shut the door. He gives you golden opportunity, day in and day out, to tap in. Even if it's for a limited amount of time, even if you have limited understanding. Because over here we're saying everybody has a portion in Torah. Whether it's a big portion, a small portion, doesn't really matter. You have a way to tap in. It's not just, oh, that's for you, it's not for me. Okay, a person's ducking out of their responsibility. That's true. But they can also have a part. And if they have a part, that can influence them in a positive way. Because God gives the shefa, He gives the influence, strong influence about the power of Torah. And what the power of Torah is. So even if a person's limited, he could get that influence. It could cause him to want to do more. But the point is, he's got a portion. Whatever that portion looks like, they can partake. Now, it's a lot easier. Before Art Scroll came along, everything was in Hebrew. Aramaic. Art Scroll came along, made everything available for English speakers, Spanish speakers. Talmud. If you didn't understand Aramaic or Hebrew, you're out. You'll never be able to learn it. Now it's in English, Spanish. So you speak the language, very good. Much, much easier to tap in. So everybody can have a portion. They gave the ability to anybody. Anybody who wants to tap in, gave him a golden opportunity. We're going to translate it in your language. We're going to make it available to you. It's a huge thing. Because before that, these books were closed. They're only for scholars. Only for people who knew how to learn and went to yeshiva. If you didn't go to yeshiva, how are you ever going to learn it? The fact that it's been translated, it's been elucidated, and there are annotations, footnotes. You're part of the game. You're given the opportunity to tap in, whether it's Talmud, whether it's Tanakh, whether it's other things. You get something out of it, even if you don't understand the original language. You hear what's going on. You hear the give and take. Obviously, there's a whole world you're missing. It's certainly better to learn it in the original language. But if not, this is another golden opportunity. It's not made available on a wide-scale basis. Anybody can tap in. Plenty of Daf Yomi websites in English. Some more in-depth, some less in-depth. Even if you don't understand the language at all. And you can't read Hebrew, so you can't read the commentaries. You can get a lot from any of these things. Because everybody's got a portion. Okay, some will get more out of it, some less out of it. However much time you put in. But ArtScroll opened up to you a world. Without them, you wouldn't be able to tap in at all. You'd be missing a whole thing over here. Like the major aspect of Judaism is about learning. And it's certainly about learning Talmud, oral law. Because that's where everything's derived from. That's how we know how to keep the holidays and everything else. So without that translation, without those explanations, you're lost. Totally in the dark. So you got people, plenty of people, never really formally learned. ArtScroll's open to the path. Because when they learn Torah now, and they're learning Talmud, it has a positive effect. If you're a vessel to receive that effect. And make no mistake, the effort you put in, you will get out. It's going to be hard, it's going to be a struggle. But you keep with it, you start getting more understanding, more ideas, more how the back and forth works. Then you go deeper. Understanding it is one level. Why people disagree, what the practical law is, it's another different thing altogether. But you've now been able to come into the stadium. Front doors now been opened. Because they gave you a great opportunity. They opened up a world you never would have been part of. You would have heard about it. Maybe go to a class here and there. But essentially, without knowing the lingo, without knowing the language, it's game over. Impossible to understand. Now, a person has to realize, even though it's been translated, even though there are footnotes, you got to think. You got to work hard. You can't just read it like a newspaper. Right? The amelus, the striving in Torah. That's where the merit comes from. Not just reading, translating, that's it. But it's thinking and digging and trying to understand. And what does it mean? And why do they argue? And what's the practical law? A lot of things going on. That's amelus b'Torah. That is the struggle to delving into Torah. You can do it with Talmud. You can do it with Mishnah. You can do it with Tanakh. Prophets, the writings. And everybody's allowed to tap in. Because the person may say, well, he didn't give me brain capacity. We're not talking about an imbecile. Even someone, they don't have to be so bright. Doesn't mean they can't learn. Because that's the fallacy. Learning's only for the scholars. It's only for the people, who are taught this from very young. Can't learn it when you're older. It's harder, that's true. Much, much harder trying to learn Hebrew when you're much older. Doesn't matter. Got to put the effort in. But the mistake is that a person has to realize when you're reading, you're given all the information. Right, the footnotes, what some of the commentaries say. The person will say, go back and forth, think about it. It's not the same as going through the text itself. Don't make that mistake. It's not like I'm reading the Rashba, the Ritva inside, and I'm analyzing what it means. So ArtScroll's not going to quote everyone if it's not relevant or whatever. But they're giving you all the information. So how hard do I have to work? Okay, I have to understand the concepts. I have to really think about them. That's something else. That's about analysis. We're talking about just understanding the words. Understanding the structure. And then understanding what it says and where it's going. It's a totally different level of learning. Now, am I going to say anyone only learns with ArtScroll? Is that not learning? I'm not going to say that. But it can be used as a crutch. Meaning, people are too lazy to look things up. Or break their head when they have difficulty. They'll say, let me go to English, let me see what's going on. Because they only have a limited amount of time. Right? They only have a limited amount of time. So even if that's true, they want to cover ground. They don't want to get lost, bogged down. There is what to be said for that. But in the end, it's all about the struggle. It's all about the learning Torah. Right? It's all about how much you put in. See, in general, we're lazy. We don't want to work hard. We want everything given to us on a platter. This is this generation. Teflon generations, I call it. We're very weak. Even though we're very weak, you still gotta strive in Torah. Still gotta put your best foot forward. As an example given, two people learning Torah. One struggles, goes to the commentators, spends a long time, and he comes to the wrong conclusion. Someone else got a little bit easier, went to ArtScroll, went to something else, and he got the right law, and he got the right halacha. Who gets more merit? Tell me, the one who got the right halacha gets more merit. Not true. The question is who put in the more effort. The one who went to ArtScroll, got the right answer, or Rabbi Dr. Google. They didn't work that hard. They didn't bust their brain. They got the answer on a platter. Someone had to work, dig around, try and make sense out of it. And even if they came to the wrong conclusion, but the striving in Torah was much greater. Lefit Tzar Agra, according to the amount of pain, the amount of struggle, that's going to be the reward. The one who went through Dr. Rabbi Google or Rabbi Dr. Google or ArtScroll didn't struggle. I'm not saying they understood everything 100%, but it's made much easier. It's laid out much easier. So I don't have to struggle as much. If you cut for time, I understand. But the merit you'll get will be less than if someone had worked much harder going through the text in the original. Even if they made a mistake. Because that's the power of Torah. Right? That's what's behind Torah, is how much I put in, the effort. Even if, God forbid, I come to the wrong conclusion. So you say, well, aren't they both learning? They're both learning. I'm not going to say someone's learning from ArtScroll isn't learning. Not going to go that far. Is it the same as if you're going through the text yourself and you're analyzing, you're going through the commentators? No. It's not the same. Because there you're struggling on your own. There you're trying to make heads and tails. They agree, they disagree. What do they disagree on? What's going on? Over here you're at a footnote. Footnote spelled it out. Someone else did the work. Now again, does that mean you're not going to get merit? No. You'll get reward. But it's not called a Melus B'Torah. It's not called the struggle, the depth of Torah. It's called, in my language, being handed something on a silver platter. You're not thinking. There is no thinking over here. So again, if you're looking, there are certain words only mentioned once or twice in all of Talmud. You look it up just to know what it means. Good. Or if a person's not sure what the explanation is, you look to see what it says. Okay, make sure you're going in the right direction. But not that's your whole focus. Go into the translation. Go into the footnotes. You got to learn on your own. You got to learn how to learn on your own. And that takes time. That takes time. You got to learn, the style of the Talmud. You got to know the words. You need background information. It's a grind. It's not an easy grind. Again, this is really mostly for men. Women don't learn Talmud. It's not for them. But the point is, I'm just speaking about ArtScroll and whether that's learning or not. That was really the point. Right? But the main point is, not to forget the main point, is every Jew has a portion. Some are going to have bigger portions, some smaller portions. But no one can say, you didn't give me this capacity or that capacity. Because the person can make the excuse, I don't know Hebrew. I don't know Aramaic, it's going to take me too long, it's too hard, I'm not good at languages, whatever. ArtScroll made it very easy. From learning that, you can learn some of the words, you can start doing it on your own eventually. Right? If you do it properly. But thinking that's real learning, when you've been handed to you, it's given to you, it's been explained to you, you don't have to think. Torah is about having to think. Again, if you're using it to see what a word means, if you're using it to see if you're going in the right direction or not, one thing. But if you're using it 100% for your learning, it's a different thing. It's not the same as if I looked at these other books on my own. You can say, I don't have time, and I'm limited, and whatever. Okay? I'm not saying not. But see, ArtScroll now made every Jew liable. Because if a person says, I don't get the language, it's too hard and whatever, they give it to you. All of it. Laid out in a nice, clear format. And this is a good thing, I'm not saying not. They did a tremendous service, continue to do a tremendous service to the world. To the Jewish people. Right? Giving them an opportunity to see books they would never, ever be able to learn. But don't make mistake and think that is what real learning is. Because that certainly isn't. It's giving you an opportunity to understand where you wouldn't be able to. But if you have the ability to understand, you go through the other commentators, whatever, it's a much higher level. It's a harder thing to do. But once you already know how to learn, then you can look at anything. Any tractate, any commentator. But you have to sit there and analyze. You have to see what it says. See if others say like them or not. What the repercussions are. Right? It's very deep. Art Scroll, for what it does, gets to the heart of the matter. What the words say, what it means. Some of the commentators, that's it. It's not so in depth. Has a tremendous purpose and a tremendous function. No question about it. But they just raised the bar. And they raised the bar because no one can ever have the excuse, I couldn't know. I don't know the language. I don't know the lingo. I don't know the structure. They'll help you with that. Still have to work, I'm not saying not. But the level of learning is totally different if you already know how to read on your own, how to analyze. It's a different story. But they did a tremendous service to the world and to the Jewish people. And that is, they made Torah available to the masses. So that ends anyone's claim, I can't have a part in it. Because the Rebbe here says, every Jew has a portion in Torah. So we have to raise the bar for ourselves. We have to live by what the Torah says. And we have to be thankful and whistle Dixie. The fact that we have a golden opportunity to tap in, even if we don't understand the language and all that, God gave us an opportunity. So every day we got to be thankful and take that opportunity and run with it and be the best that we can be. I want to remind everyone, I have 2 Q&As every week, usually Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning New York time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I also have a class of the book of Leviticus every Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning New York time. I have controversial issues every Monday, 2 o'clock New York time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, Duties of the Heart, working on the gate of humility. Right, that's 9 o'clock New York time. I have my conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of these, they can take a look at they can contact me at Beyond Orthodox Conversion and Judaism on Facebook. They can send me an email at rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com. RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Everyone have a great Shabbos.